All right. Hey, everybody. We're just going to get set and go for part 2 of my Zen and New Year's resolution webinar, plus how I'm tying that into the Busy Woman training protocol that we're going to get underway with. And you can get those exercises at busywoman.fitness/exercises to get free exercises that'll sort of give you a peek into some of the upcoming protocol that we'll have in terms of getting more than just workouts. So when I say busywoman.fitness/exercises, the exercises aren't physical workout exercises. They're much deeper than that. They're all about the elements of mental and emotional fitness that lead to sustained achievement and sustained weight loss or whatever your goal might be. So that's the important thing that we're after there. And as you can see, that link is right there, busywoman.fitness/exercises if you haven't done that yet. And then I'm just waiting for everybody to get on board. I know it's a work day, in the middle of the work day, so who knows how many people we'll get. But I want to get this out there. Like I said, I wanted to get to part 2 as soon as I could after part 1 because they're very, very important follow-ups to get to. So I wanted to make sure I had that. So people coming on board. So we got Connecticut and a few other places, and the numbers are climbing. So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to get there, and I'm going to expand upon some of the concepts that I started in the last time, because several problems that are unique in the fitness industry are unique to the fairer sex. They're unique to women. So eating issues, eating disorders, body image issues, they are 85% more likely to be females than males who suffer these things. So very important that we get at that. So we developed a whole program that we're introducing for the new year to get people involved and get them away from the same old stale mental and emotional approaches to physique transformation. Because this is what I see all the time. I have, I'm reminded of someone I know through, a friend of a friend kind of thing. And every year she goes through the same shiny new object syndrome. Every year, she's done hip hop abs, and she's done insanity, and she's done this beach body program and that program. And then she's done, Miss Bikini Fitness Magic program. And then she's gone from keto to carb backloading, and she's done this and she's done that. And every year she goes through a honeymoon period where this is the program and this is the one. And every year it's the same thing. She ends up stopping, looking for the next shiny new object. She's never changed her body, never lost the weight, and yet she's always honeymooning on the next Vogue trend that comes down the pike. So she's a typical consumer in that sense. And that's something that I didn't want to just market to that mindset, but I wanted to actually help inform and educate that mindset so you can look a little deeper and be a little more informed. So having said that, I want to get on to part 2. And so I'm going to bring that into the conversation right now. All of you let me know that you can see the lecture, and I'll just shrink my big fat noggin, and then I'm going to get on with the lecture. So here's what I want you to start looking for and looking about. I'm going to get into this deeper. So part 2 is continuing from part 1, New Year's resolution and change. And then what I want you to do to look at that in terms of, did you do the exercises? Did you even check out the busywoman.fitness /exercises that I have highlighted right down here? If not, make sure you go there. If not now, then go there after, and you'll see what I mean about changing the mindset. There's some simple to do exercises there that help to reframe. All right. And a lot of this is about cognitive reframing. Says, if you don't change the way you look at things, then the things you look at are never going to change, and you're going to always be stuck in the same mindset expecting a different result. So that's a pretty ridiculous place to be. So next, I want you to think about that. So what we're working on right now in terms of what we're bringing to you, the Busy Woman's training, the Train at Home Tighten and Tone program, which should be available within the next week or so, I would imagine. And we're breaking that down. So what I want to show you, yes, I want to apply the concepts of the Zen elements that we're going to talk about here, but I want it to be even more than that. So we took the Busy Woman's program and we decided to make it part of a bigger picture, as you can see here. So notice this circle here. We're going to start releasing the Busy Woman's training, the Train at Home Tighten and Tone program, and then we're going to later release Busy Woman's Real World Diet Strategies. And then after that, we're going to have a whole food freedom and eating issues course for ladies who struggle with food and eating issues. We're going to add that as a full-on course. So as you can see, the arrow is a circle that keeps completing itself. So one of the things about the Busy Woman's Training at Home program is if you just order that because you want a good, solid workout and you're okay with everything else, then at least you're getting it from, a qualified expert who understands program design and who operates by the principles of exercise physiology, and not someone who is just, won a bikini contest or something and therefore calls himself qualified to write up programs that really have no sound, fundamental, principally based foundation. So at least by releasing the program first, you're getting all of the exercise instruction with Krista and myself and breaking down how to make the exercises harder or easier depending on where you're at. So it's a great beginning. The other thing is, I didn't want to throw at people all of this stuff at once, because too often the New Year's resolution crowd, you're taking on more than you can actually handle mentally and physically. And all that does is produce in your mind a whole bunch of clutter. You've got a clutter of information, and then too much information leads to getting nothing done. So that is something else we wanted to prevent as well. So we're going to start by releasing the Busy Woman's Train at Home Tighten and Tone program, but with those exercises that go a little deeper into the mental and emotional elements. And as I've mentioned, if you've gone to the busywoman.fitness/exercises, hopefully you've already done that. You can see what those exercises actually are, and how and why they matter is pretty obvious as soon as you download them. It's pretty obvious how and why they matter. So a quick recap from part 1 that I did just 2 days ago. The things that matter in the Zen approach is conscious choices. So you have to be conscious of your choices. Any impulse behaviors is not a conscious choice. So you find yourself eating your way out of a carton of ice cream or eating a whole bag of cookies because you said you'd just eat one. Those aren't being present for a conscious choice. Impulsive behavior is never actually being present and making a conscious choice. When you produce a mental block in your head that says, screw it, or F it, and I'm not doing this anymore, that's not a conscious choice. That's a denial, all right? And those are the kind of things that we want to start with. So ownership of behavior. You don't act or not act because of something someone else said or did. Someone else asked you if you've gained weight, or someone else said, oh, are you pregnant? And you felt so hurt that you went and, again, dove into a carton of ice cream or a bag of cookies. That's not ownership of behavior. Someone else doesn't make you do those things. You do them. So until you start owning that and making sure that you own it in ways that's about responsibility and not self-judgment and self-punishment. And that takes a lot of work. And that's stuff we were doing in the food and eating issues course as well. So, and all that leads to, so in other words, ownership of behavior means blame never enters into the picture. All right. You're in a bad relationship and you want to blame, the other person. Well, you're in the relationship. So remember, blame is the acronym for that is be lame. So ownership of behavior means whatever you do or don't do, negative or positive, you got to own that. So those are Zen ways that are about the present and not some far down the road kind of thing that you're after. And then what those two things lead to are process goals. The goal is the process, and the process is the goal. And you have to show up for those things every day. Part of your long-term achievement comes from just showing up and having the capacity to just show up. Doesn't matter how perfect you do what you do when you show up, but it matters that you show up. So those are important things as well. And I'm referring to all the common mistakes I see that are consistently made out there by people who write me. So those are very, very important things that I want to get at as well. So feel free to make your comments and ask your questions, and I'll be referring to them as we get there. So habits, the secret to achievement or non-achievement. All right. The reason you get there or get there and don't stay there or never get there has to do with habits. And habits are also mental habits. Our thought patterns are actually habits. If your go-to place in your mind is to blame someone or to be in denial or to deflect or to seek stimulation, validation, and attention in social media rather than autonomy, mastery, and purpose in your self-connection, then those are habits that lead to failure or incompleteness and unfulfillment. And you have to understand that it takes a habit to change a habit. So that's a very, very important thing as well. And also the recap, the law of reverse effects. Remember, the harder and more complicated you make something, the less likely you are to achieve it. And what we have with the North American diet mentality, we have the exact opposite, right? What does the fitness industry tell you to do and believe in? That it's all so complicated, and you've got to get out your Fitbit, and you've got to crunch your numbers, and you've got to get your macros right, and you better have your carbs at such and such a percent, and then you better balance that with this, and it's all nonsense. So the law of reverse effects says the harder you make and more complicated you make something to achieve, then the less likely you are to achieve it. My whole coaching approach is to combat the reverse effects of what I call the North American diet mentality madness that so many women continue to buy into. And I also refer to it as hiding behind complication. Listen, the reason you don't get there and haven't been there isn't because your approach isn't complicated enough. It's usually because someone else that has got there has worked harder, they've been more consistent, and they've sacrificed more. And until you are conscious of those choices and owning those behaviors, then the law of reverse effects, it means you're just going to make something more complicated than it has to be, and then hide behind that as a reason to be confused and never get there. When, as I said last time, when the truth is, as Einstein said, the truth is simple and simplicity is the truth. That's what the Busy Woman program is all about. We keep it simple to keep it doable. On a consistent basis. So that's what we need to do. And then the circle of want as the root of all suffering. As I said in part 1, the Zen approach to anything, and as Buddha said, life is suffering. The causes of suffering can be known, and once they are known, the relative elements of suffering can be released and alleviated. But the circle of want is the cause of all suffering. So that's part 1 sort of recapped in different words. And then let's let go of silly cliches that you see around New Year's, right? And then, yes, as I'm just reminded here, the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. The simpler we make things, the more likely we are to not run into excuses or a cluttered mind. So let's let go of New Year's resolutions. As I said in part 1, New Year's resolutions are weak. They're not strong. People who make them tend to be weak, but they are all about the circle of want. So forget about cliches like be yourself, only better. Instead, just choose to be your better self. And if you don't know what that is, start with a mental exercise to act as if until it eventually becomes natural. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you're tempted. You've just had a big fight with your spouse, or work stress. You just had a big fight with your boss, or your boss, is disappointed in you, and you're tempted to go, say screw it and eat a carton of ice cream. Well, catch yourself in that moment and just ask yourself, what would my better self do? If I was who I want to be right now, if I was my better self person, what would I do and what would I think right now? Or the opposite, what would I think and therefore what would I do right now? And that might not even prevent the current sabotaging behavior, but it begins the process of cognitive restructuring where you start to think of things a little different than you used to think of things so that you can get out of being stuck. Because the reason you're stuck isn't because you don't have the magic program, and the reason you're stuck isn't because you don't have the magic diet. The reason you're stuck is because you consistently continue to think the same way and expect a different result. So forget about be yourself, only better. Choose to be your better self. And again, look at that word choice. Choose to be your better self. All right. So again, what was part one? The very first principle in the Zen approach is to be conscious of your choices. So choose to be your better self. All right. Now, the definition of insanity, as I just mentioned, is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So before entering a new workout program or diet with the same old mindset and the same old ways of thinking, you have to start being conscious and being aware of that. Because if you always do what you've always done, you're going to always get what you've always got. And aren't you tired of honeymooning the same way? Time in and time out. Oh, this next program that's popular online, that's my solution. Oh, this next diet that's in vogue, we've gone from Atkins to keto to let's control our macros and let's just make it more and more complicated. You keep thinking the same way in different variations of that and expecting a different result. And I'm telling you, that is destined to fail because that's the law of reverse effects that I talked about earlier. Now, I'm just going to segue away from that for 1 minute. And let me say, again, the definition of insanity is also not just thinking the same way and expecting a different result, but you can't solve your problems with the same thinking that set the problems in motion. You don't diet yourself out of an issue you dieted your way into. So you diet and you stick to it for a honeymoon period, you lose the weight, you don't do anything about metabolism because it's all about weight. And then eventually your body decides it's had enough. It increases appetite and hunger to a level that you can no longer take, and you start eating more. Meanwhile, your metabolism has been repressed and depressed, so you gain all the weight back. And then how do you go and solve that problem? You think the next diet is the solution. But again, you don't solve a problem with the same line of thinking that set that problem in motion. So we got to get rid of this nonsense and start thinking in different terms. And the different terms are the more Zen terms. So now I also mentioned to you last time about the Sawyer effect in psychology, what they call the Sawyer effect. The Sawyer effect is the mindset that either turns play into work or turns work into play. And if you look at someone who struggles with weight, and I mean a lot of weight, don't they always struggle in a way where the answer is work? It's work. It's the Biggest Loser times 10, right? And someone yelling in your face for 5 more reps and getting out your Fitbit and doing complicated math. Well, the human mind isn't meant to work like a zombification of a calculator. That's just not how our brains and our minds work. That's why we have free will. So that's never going to serve you. You end up serving it. And that's not what we want. Now, I'm reminded of the Sawyer effect because the other day I rewatched Pumping Iron for the 150th time. And it reminded me of part 1 lecture where we talked about the Sawyer effect, a mindset that either turns play into work, which is for the negative, or a mindset that turns work into play for the positive. And there's a famous scene in the first Pumping Iron, the original Pumping Iron, which is very, very famous. You ladies might not know it, but most men do. And it's where Arnold is trying to explain what the pump feels like and what the pump is. And Arnold goes on about how the pump is a lot like coming. And it's a lot like having an orgasm. And he goes on. And he says, so imagine my life. I'm coming in the gym. I'm coming at home. I'm coming outside of the gym. And he sort of paints this picture of his life as being one big orgasmic experience after another. And yet when you see the training clips of him getting ready for the Olympia, he's busting out. He's busting a gut. He's working harder than any other 10 people could even come close to. But He turns that work into play in his mind. For him, it's orgasmic. And that was just another kind of example of a mindset that turns work into play, turns hard, brutal, physical work into play. And then yet ladies who struggle with weight tend to do the opposite. Instead of making this all playful and challenging, they create this arduous law of reverse effects, that it's all complicated and it's all very difficult and no one understands. And that's all part of the mindset that turns play into work. And that's a reason why that will eventually fall in on itself and implode or explode, and the result will still be failure. So again, the definition of insanity isn't just thinking the same way and expecting a different behavior, which is what the North American diet mentality madness is, but it's also the reality that you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that caused the problem to begin with. So you don't diet your way out of something you dieted your way into. This is all part of the busywoman.fitness and / exercises. These are the kind of exercises we're going to be doing to restructure cognition in a way that serves the mind. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about the clutter-free mind. How do you get there? Well, you get there by learning what a clutter-free mind is. Everyone that writes me and says, this stuff is so complicated and I'm so confused because everyone says the opposite. Well, that's a mind that's full of clutter. And no matter how much information you gather, information isn't knowledge. And that's the first thing you have to understand. One of the things I said in one of my books is that it's better to go an inch wide and a mile deep than it is to go a mile wide but only an inch deep. That is what we talk about when we talk about the clutter-free mind. For instance, on the cycle diet, when I'm on a diet day, I don't think about, should I eat this? Should I not eat that? What might I have here? What might I have there? That just produces mental clutter. And you get to a point with the achiever's mindset, the Zen mindset, where you don't clutter your mind with nonsense and choices that aren't really options. So you need to understand that the clutter-free mind leads to clutter-free actions and behaviors. Too often, you give yourself too many options, too many outs, all right? And if you just have a clutter-free mind, you'll have clutter-free behavior that will follow, and you don't worry, you don't entertain options that don't serve you. You end up learning how to eliminate toxic choices and options in your mind and realize that only process goals truly accomplish this. We see this a lot in courses in sobriety, right? You take it one day at a time. That's a process goal, right? Well, the same is true with weight. The same is true with trying to transform your physique. This is why the Busy Woman's program is much deeper than just workouts. If you want just the workouts, well, at least you're getting workouts designed by an expert, yours truly, that you can do at home. Time saving, all these elements that go into the actual title, Busy Woman. But like I said in part one, I wanted to make this deeper, better, more appropriate, more of the triangle of awareness, more of the physical, mental, and emotional fitness experience to change lives, because a program and a diet doesn't change your life. And if you keep thinking that way, you're going to continue to fail. It's actually changing your life that makes the fitness and diet easier to do. So that's really, really important. And I see Krista Louise just came on board. So hello to Krista. And ladies, you should thank Krista, because the busywoman.fitness protocol wouldn't exist without her, because we have 16 circuits of 11 exercises that are all demoed clearly and instructively with myself and Krista, me explaining how and why the exercises go together, and Krista giving you honest feedback of how the exercises felt to her as she was doing them for the first time and doing the circuits in real time. So that really benefits you all, because there's massive instruction out there in the Busy Woman protocol that shows you how to make the exercises harder, make them easier, build into it, all those things. So if you're just looking for the protocol, you got that, but you only got that because Krista was on board and devoting her time, her spare time, and her time off of work to help me with that. So shout out to Krista there. Anyway, back to the lecture, the clutter-free mind. You got to eliminate toxic choices and options in your mind and realize that only process goals accomplish that. It's like people who say to me, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week. And I say, yeah. And right away, their minds start to communicate their level of perception of, oh, I could never do that. Oh, that's really hard. Or why would you do that? I get to make my own hours. I get up at 4 in the morning every day, 7 days a week, because I can't wait to bust out my day. And how many times have you heard me say in the past, there's 2 ways to live your life. There's 2 kinds of people living their life. There's the people who wake up every morning and hit the snooze button and they say, good God, it's morning. And then there's other people who don't even need an alarm, people like myself who jump out of bed at 4 in the morning and say, good morning, God. So you can either be good God, it's morning, or good morning, God. And again, that is an element of perception. That is being conscious of your choices from the minute you get up. So the clutter-free mind is something we also tackle. It's funny, this time of year, I get ladies writing me. And this morning, I had 2 exact opposite examples from clients. One client on the program, successful because her feedback was, well, thanks to you, Scott, you've changed the way I think. And now this is all so easy. And I can't believe I don't struggle anymore. And I took Christmas off, like you said. And I would be worried about gaining all this weight. And I just enjoyed, and I didn't even gain any weight. And then I had another client write me who continues to struggle with honeymooning on various diet approaches. Oh, I'm going to try to eat less so I can eat more on a refeed, or I'm going to eat more so that I don't feel so hungry, and always bouncing back and forth with the pinballing mindset, because that mind's so full of clutter and overcomplication when none of this is complicated except for the perception that it is. So really, really important stuff. And I hope this is resonating with you out there. And I should have asked you guys before to hit your share buttons, because this is really, really important. And as Tracy Lynn is just commenting, if you start doing something like that, and this is explained in the Busy Woman protocol, I'm not going to give it all away, but I talk about actual samples. But what Tracy Lynn is just saying, she has a natural internal 4 a.m. clock. And when, it starts by you're either a morning person or a night person. And if you can have work that allows you to live according to your natural inclinations, then that's a good thing. But you start setting a clock, and eventually you no longer have to. You just sort of wake up at that time. This is what I'm talking about habits. Habits are the key to success or failure, or what I call achievement versus non-achievement. So that's really important. Now, let's get to it. When it comes to the Busy Woman, busywoman.fitness, busywoman.fitness/exercises, those mental and emotional exercises that are right there for you to do right now, those are just beginnings. All right. And I designed this program for ladies who struggle with food, struggle with weight, struggle with body image, struggle with these things. Let's talk the self-esteem factor, because the reason I wanted to take the Busy Woman .fitness to the next level and make it more than a training program, the reason I wanted to do that is because the self-esteem factor that most ladies attach to why they're doing any of this. And that's a bad thing. So like you see here, if you're chasing self-esteem as a result of losing weight, then that's the wrong approach mentally and emotionally, and your behavior is going to reflect that. So many ladies that I see and deal with, they confuse body image with self-image, and they meld them together as one. And then their self-image is merely a reflection of their body image. So they're always judging their body. Then they're always judging themselves as worthy or unworthy, depending on whether they are being consistent with some kind of perfectionist kind of behavior and weighing themselves. And, the scale sets their emotions for the day, and all these elements that show lack of self-esteem and not presence of it. So if you're chasing self-esteem as a result of a physical transformation, you're likely to set failure in motion as well. So the self-esteem factor becomes monumental in our ongoing approach to this Busy Woman Busy Woman's Fitness protocol, the training, then the diet strategy, and then the food and eating issues course. To try to prove your self-worth is to lose it. And to try to prove it to other people other than yourself is to widen that gap. So we see this all the time, that women tend to see themselves as being judged by other women. Right. And that's a factor that is problematic. What do we see at all these red carpet things that we watch for celebrities, right? The red carpet, who's wearing what, it's never about what the men are wearing. Nobody really gives a crap about what many of the men are wearing. It's always about what the women are wearing. And then they even have television shows now to judge who got it right and who got it wrong. So this all feeds into that sort of body images, self-image stuff, where women set themselves up as judge and jury of how other women appear. And what that does is weaken self-esteem, where you're trying to prove it to other people and not just yourself, which you shouldn't be doing anyway. Self-esteem is something that's lived, not stated, and not strived for. And the element that matters there, again, all of this stuff reflects a failure of the Zen approach. This isn't a Zen approach at all. Again, lower consciousness is all about stimulation, validation, and attention, usually online and social media. Or higher consciousness is about autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So those are the deeper elements, and that's what a good fitness protocol should lead to. So the self-esteem factor, in other words, self-esteem cannot be something that you want. Referring back to part one, right? Part one. The Zen approach is that want is the root of all suffering. So self-esteem can't be something you want. That's surely going to produce the suffering. And we see that, like I said, when I referred to the show, This Is Us, and you see the very heavy protagonist in that show wanting weight loss ahead of everything else in her life, ahead of relationships, ahead of her own self-worth, ahead of intelligence and intellect and all these things. Want produces suffering. So if you're going to focus on some far away down the road goal, especially one that's cosmetic, then you're going to suffer your way all the way there. And a achievement mindset that's built on and founded upon suffering is one that'll never be sustained. What do I mean by that? I mean, I've dealt with thousands of women over the years who have lost the weight, but they can't stay there because the whole time it was a battle based in suffering. It was never founded upon healthy self-esteem. So the Zen of it is all simple. And if this is resonating with you, throw some emoticons up there, folks. Let me know you're out there and you're listening. But the Zen of all this is simple, and it's the opposite of the North American diet mentality madness. There's no longer, in Zen, there's no longer a pattern of thought that says, I want this, I don't want that. As in, I want to lose 40 pounds. I don't want to be heavy anymore. That's want, want, want. In Zen, there's only being and doing. All right. And these are all about the element of process. So the Zen of it being so simple, remember, want as a foundation for a goal is always going to hold two or more contradictory positions at once. What do we see all the time? What do I mean by that? The phrase, I want to lose weight. But what comes with that, several times with that, but I don't want to diet today. So want produces two contradictory elements always or more, and that produces suffering because your goals are no longer clear. And that creates the cluttered mind. I want to lose weight. I don't want to diet today. I want to lose weight, but I want to live a real life. Or you lose the weight and now I want to eat real food again. So you're starting to see how want in the Zen approach, want is the root of all suffering. You see how clear that is and how it creates the cluttered mind of want, want, want. As soon as you hold on to something and grasp something you actually want and have it, then you're going to want for something else. So the actual Zen of it, to declutter your mind, is to let go of want. It's the mindset of resistance that feeds want, that feeds ongoing suffering. In other words, how many times do you hear ladies talking about battling their weight? They're fighting with their weight. Oh, I fought hard to be perfect on my diet all week, and I was. Well, you've won a battle, but you've lost the war because you've got a mindset of resistance telling you that all this is a battle. And a mindset of resistance means you've never got a quiet, uncluttered mind. And it's peace of mind that leads to quality of behavior. And this is what I want to get at for the Busy Woman Fitness program, that it's deeper than a workout. It's better than a workout. Otherwise, you might as well just do P90X, or you might as well look up 2017 bikini champion in the IFBB and go do her program. But you're always going to be pinballing from program to program, diet to diet. You declutter your mind. You don't battle for what you want. You let go of want entirely. So what does that mean, letting go of want? Well, first of all, it means having a different approach, all right? Seeds of discouragement can never take place in a truly grateful heart, all right? If you're emotionally grateful, then you're seldom discouraged, because to have a heart full of gratitude is to have a heart full of motivation and inspiration and taking nothing for granted. And when you're grateful, you aren't trying to achieve or chase after things like self-satisfaction, self-worth, or self-respect. Instead, these are the things that ground you, and they are the foundations for your thinking and doing. You're no longer trying to prove something to yourself. You're just being your better self, right? Like I said earlier, don't fall for cliches like be yourself, only better. Be your better self. How do you let go of want? You stop the battlefield of the mind. So very, very important stuff. So are you hearing me, ladies? Am I getting to you out there? So how does that work? Well, let's talk about inspiration. True inspiration is something that you devote to your engagement in the process. Inspiration doesn't come from achieving a goal. If you think you're going to get your inspiration from losing the weight, from transforming your body, from being on someone's website in a before and after picture, if you think that, then your inspiration tank is always going to be empty. That's the Zen of the process. You don't get inspired. All right. You devote inspiration to your goal. Inspiration is something you give, not something you get. All right. And like the old saying goes, right? You receive the most by giving the most. Well, inspiration is something you practice. So even if you have to practice small little increments to be inspired, then you do it. In other words, you can become inspired by setting your clock for a certain time every morning and no longer hitting the snooze button and just making yourself get up. As you practice inspiration, it becomes stronger and stronger till you no longer have to practice it. So remember, you don't get inspired. You give inspiration to the process. You inject inspiration into what you're doing every day. This is what Arnold meant when he said by describing the pump as an orgasm and saying, look at my life. I'm coming in the gym. I'm coming outside of the gym. My whole life is about orgasms. That's what I talk about, the clutter-free mind, where you can be present to whatever you're doing. So if you don't have any of these things, then likely you're going to suffer the law of reverse effects by making everything more complicated than it needs to be. Now, the non-goal goal of Zen. Practicing deeper Zen is not having any specific goals, and that the process is the goal and the goal is the process, and you just make a decision to do something. I make a decision to write a book. Well, the first time I used to just write articles for a few of the magazines and have my own corner when my mind wasn't as deep into Zen. That was often difficult because I was always worried about who would think what kind of critique I would get. It was always outside in, external factors cluttering the mind, which made me less creative. As soon as I had a non-goal goal to just write because I like to write, do these webinars because I like to do these webinars, and do presentations because it's my nature, learn because it's my nature, then that first book that was so hard for me to write has now become a dozen books. So that's the non-goal goal of Zen. And appreciating this lets you see what a mind resolutions really are. New Year's resolutions are for weak people who don't understand that want is the root of all suffering, and people who really want to talk themselves into something by declaring it to other people. Don't invite other people into what should be inspiration, inspired action. And don't forget what the word inspiration comes from. It literally means to be in spirit. You don't invite other people into that. It's something you give out to the world around you. So it means never striving, never struggling, and never being at odds with your own mind. How many people can say that? And this matters in terms of the Busy Woman program and diet strategy to actually getting you somewhere you want to go, but actually being able to not just get there, but get there with the right foundation so that you can stay there. So in our day and age, the whole compare, contrast, compete, especially online, becomes so entrenched that it seems like not having a goal is to be more feared than not even reaching a goal. So you end up with fear either way. Fear, fear, fear. Fear is a terrible motivator. Like I said in one of my lectures a few years back, fear is like having a very ugly mistress. All right. So it just sucks the life out of you, and it's never going to be sustainable. So you have to keep that in mind. The reality math of Zen is this: the fewer your wants, the more you experience ease and satisfaction, and the easier, simpler things tend to be. And the best way to achieve sustainable weight loss is to let go of it as some external goal that's going to lead you to happiness. The Busy Woman's training program is based on these lessons and these very concepts. Yes, it's a workout program, but it's about a hell of a lot more than a workout program. And if you've been paying any attention to this at all, then that's what you're learning. So very, very important stuff. The non-goal goal of Zen. And it's funny, I remember a few months ago, I'll give you another example. I was watching Bill Maher real-time show, and he was talking about being surprised because he mentioned on one of his shows that he doesn't have a bucket list. And he couldn't believe the blowback he got on Twitter for such an innocuous statement. And actually, it's quite a Zen statement. I don't have a bucket list either. There's nothing, because a bucket list, again, reflects want. And want is the root of suffering. You just go out and do things, and you decide what your desire is for the things you're going to do, and you do them, and you don't have a want external to that, which would be way too hard to explain to people. But it was funny how he got so much blowback on that because of the North American mentality that not having a goal is to be feared. And it's actually letting go of goals that you've never reached that actually frees you to finally reach them. So that's really, really big, important stuff. Now let's go back to the circle of want. That want is the root of all suffering. Want itself is a constant hunger. And to always be hungry when your pantry is full is to own a hunger that's never going to be satiated. And this is why people hunger, and I use that both in the metabolic way and the physiological way, but I also use it in the metaphorical way. This is why people are trying this diet, this program, that diet, this program and diet, because they're constantly hungry with a kind of hunger that's never going to be satisfied and never going to be satiated. And what the Zen approach does is it eliminates that kind of want and that kind of hunger. So want is a source of constant hunger, but it's a kind of hunger that when your pantry is full is to own a hunger that can never be satiated or satisfied. So the Zen reminder there is that happiness is not a place you get to when you accomplish something large or small. Happiness is the path you use to get there. And there's an old Irish greeting that's all about that. And it says, may you all live as long as you want, but never want for as long as you live. And that is the play, the Zen play on the word want, because it means that want is the root of suffering. So as soon as you want, and that's your foundation for living your life, I want a bigger house, I want a fancier car, I want plastic surgery, I want to look better, I want to be more beautiful, I want to lose weight. That produces an endless amount of suffering, because as soon as you have one of those wants, your foundation of want will mean you will want for something else. So you will never be at contentment. There will always be a carrot held in front of you that you're never going to be able to reach. And as an adult now in the latter stages, the last half of my life, I wouldn't want to live a life that's a source of endless want. It just makes no sense to me. So all of this means that there's a reality math aspect to the Busy Woman's workout program and course. And that's what I'm getting at. That yes, we have the Busy Woman's 16 circuits, 11 exercises per circuit, designed by a true expert in exercise physiology. But we went beyond that to something else. So this is the something else that I want to get at. And we're just, trust me, ladies, we're just scratching at the surface of this. When you get into it, it's much, much deeper than the stuff I'm mentioning here. So on its own, the Busy Woman's Tighten and Tone at Home circuits would be just another program. It would still be better than just another program because, like I said, at least it's designed by yours truly, who has 4+ decades experience as an expert in exercise physiology and program design. So it's not, just another program by just another online marketer. And you can get it because it's got circuits that you can do at home. That's very convenient, which is why I initially designed it and developed it based on letters I would get from ladies who were just too busy because they suddenly had families they never had before. And their former competition programs and diets just didn't fit their lifestyle anymore. And they were trying to be realistic about it and have a program that fit their life rather than trying to fit their life to the program. So you can get the program and just see it for what it is, and you'd still be ahead of most programs out there. But when you add in the lessons and exercises on mindset, emotional fitness, and mental fitness, the Busy Woman program becomes something much greater, much deeper, much more expansive than just being another exercise program. And I hope you truly understand that. So it's going to be available within the next week or so. And again, if you haven't done this yet, go download the slides from part 1 and the bonus exercises at busywoman.fitness/exercises. If you're having any trouble there, it's because you're not Busy Woman's all one word, .fitness/exercises. It's all right there for you to do. So I'm going to, I threw a lot at you there, folks, in terms of Zen concepts and Zen realities that, I'm very familiar with, the way I live and things like that. But you may not be familiar with it. So by all means, rewatch the webinar, look for the key concepts, and imagine if you let go a goal of physique transformation. Imagine you let go your goal of weight loss and you lived as if you already had it. Like I said in part 1, you don't really seek the weight loss or physique transformation. You seek the mental and emotional elements you think having it is going to give you. So start contemplating more on those mental and emotional elements of success and live from that way. And then achieving that goal becomes something far easier and far simpler as well. So let's just see now what we have. And again, there's the link, folks. That's what the link looks like. You don't need www in front of it, but you can if you want. Jenny's just saying busywoman.fitness/exercises. Tried to opt in, but not getting an email. I'm sure you will, Jenny. It's all set up and ready to go. So, yep. And Stephanie's just saying, there you go. Been waiting for this to come out. It was going to be my Christmas present. Okay, well, yeah, but we wanted to wait, and that's reasonable. We wanted to wait, Stephanie, to have it fit in with New Year's because I didn't want to clump it into the sort of Christmas kind of thing. I wanted to wait till that was behind everybody so I could latch on to the Zen element of resolutions. And then, another line I was reminded of today in an email. Someone read one of my previous New Year's resolution blogs from years and years ago. And in that, what I was saying was New Year's resolutions make no sense in the Zen lifestyle. Instead of a New Year's resolution, direct yourself to be more resolute. Don't have resolutions, just be resolute in all your actions. So that's kind of the really, really important element as well. So, Faith is just saying, there you go. She got the confirmation email. So, look at that again. And Jenny's just saying that she's very excited. So, yeah, try again, Jenny. So, Jenny just saying, so excited about this. Thank you, Scott. Well, I'm excited to bring it to you guys. Like I said, 11 months in the making. And then when we decided to make it something deeper and even better, we held off on releasing it so we could add several elements to it from previous things I've been involved in. So we're going to bring the Busy Woman's training protocol, like I said, in that circle, and then the diet strategy. So as someone's not trying to do too much at once and bury themselves with mental clutter. And then we're going to complete the circle with the food and eating issues course for ladies who struggle with those particular issues. And like I always say, and again, a very Zen thing, the opposite of the North American diet mentality, I always say, you don't have a weight problem, a food problem, or an eating issue. You have thinking and feeling problems and issues with those things, and that's what we're gonna get into. So, okay, Jenny's just saying she got the email. So great, good stuff. So everything's working the way it should be. Let me see if there's any other comments. Linda's just saying great stuff. I'm glad. I wish I had more reach. I wish these live webinars got out to more ladies, because the letters I get every week is a reflection of the nonsense going out there that really isn't helping ladies. Listen, ladies, if I can just get this through your noggins and get this through your heads and get you to share these things with other people, if you achieve the weight loss and even manage to sustain it for a time, but you're still living inside the thin cage, you're still living an imprisoned life with grams of this and percentages of that and weighing yourself a few to several times a day or week, then you really haven't accomplished anything, because what you really had in mind from the beginning was that your physique transformation and weight loss was going to free your mind. Not you've just exchanged stale old prison bars for shiny new ones. Shiny, glossy new ones. That, for me, isn't success. And I'll tell you, it's a pathetic thing to see for people who are in their 40s and 50s. It's understandable for younger ladies, but it's a shame, when you see it in people who are a little older. So, very, very important stuff. So, I'm just looking through make sure I got all the comments. I never want to miss any. So, and just as Kay Faith is saying, it's important to have reminders here and there. So, this is all important stuff. So, what I'm hoping you will all do, folks, is, share these webinars. They're very important. And I'm not going to go on and on for weeks of lectures about the Busy Woman's. It's there. It's out probably within the next week or so. And then, like I said, we're going to deepen it. We're going to expand upon it with the diet strategy to come after. And then with the eating issues and food issues course, which so many ladies have been asking me to do and are excited about. So really important stuff. And I know coming at you in the middle of the first workday back from the holidays was probably going to limit the amount of people that would be available to attend. So by all means, hit your share buttons and get people involved and get people understanding something a little deeper than the next fancy promise coming down the pike. So what I'm doing in my next live webinar is I am going to do another transformation inspiration because of the time of year and stuff. Even though inspiration is something you give, not get, I'm still going to show you what that looks like when someone actually applies these principles. So I'm going to do another transformation inspiration webinar with one of my clients, and that'll blow your mind. And I got that coming up for the next live webinar. So, follow my Facebook fan page if you want to get, my posts on when I'm doing the next one, probably sometime next week, but you'll want to see that one because that'll blow minds as much as the previous one did. So again, decluttering the mind, the Sawyer effect, conscious choices, responsibility, owning your actions. These are just the beginnings, but these are the foundations that make anything successful. It's not magic programs, not magic foods, not superfoods, not magic supplements, not magic formulations, not magic macros. And it's definitely not about no carb, low carb nonsense. So this is all about letting go of the mindset of resistance and the battlefield of the mind and take a more sound. Peace of mind produces behaviors that reinforce peace of mind. So keep all that in mind, ladies. And that's it for me today. Hopefully you guys learn something, and hopefully you'll all hit your share buttons and get people to take part in these. And like I said, this busywoman.fitness/exercises, just to give you a little taste of sort of the mental and emotional fitness elements of what's coming within that protocol. And you'll be able to get that soon. And then we're just going to keep building on it and really target the ladies that need it the most. So I'm looking forward to giving that out to you. And hopefully you guys will stay tuned. And I'll be back next week with another transformation inspiration of one of my clients that you won't want to miss, who leads the cycle diet lifestyle and has done tremendous things. So having said that, thanks for being out there. If you weren't, it wouldn't make much sense for me to be here. And shout out to Krista. I don't know if she's still there, but definitely shout out to Krista for helping, set the Busy Woman's protocol in motion, because she's there demoing all the exercises and doing a couple of the circuits in real time. And it took us months and months to get that done. And that was sort of the conception of the idea to not just make it another program, but make it something deeper for busy women. And let's just end with Faith just saying, so pumped. Well, so am I, Kate. Faith, sorry. And I'm happy to bring it to you, and I'll be bringing it to you another time. So booyah. Happy 2018 to everybody. And look for that soon. Hopefully you've opted in. And again, it's just, you can just see it there on the screen. busywoman.fitness/exercises to get you started. And then look for the launch. Like I said, just the program first, then the diet strategy, and then the food and eating issues course, which we can probably do separately and together. And then, other people giving Krista a shout out, which is well deserved. So that's it for me, folks. And I will see you all next week. And I have to go jump up and down because I'm so excited. So I know the numbers were down, but I know I wanted to get this part 2 to you guys, so it followed up, closely on part 1, so we could get all that done, sooner. And I know it's our first work day back, so there's less people than normally would be out there, and that's cool. And I know, what the truth is, a lot of people just can't handle the concepts, the Zen concepts. They find it a little too new age or too airy-fairy or too spiritual. But those are the exact kind of people that tend to stay stuck because they're not willing to understand that a change in thinking usually begets a change in behavior, which is exactly what they need. So having said all that, folks, I could talk about this stuff all day, but I won't. And I will see you all next week with a very inspiring physique transformation for you all to witness. So until then, take care, and I will see you all later.